AITA for kicking my family out of my condo on Christmas Eve? It all started months earlier, really late one night. I was already in my pajamas with my cell phone in my hand and the lamp turned off, about to go to sleep, when it started vibrating on the nightstand. My younger sister Kayla's name popped up on the screen. It was nearly 11 o'clock. I almost did not answer, but I know her. If you do not answer her, she insists until you get tired. What happened, Kayla? Rachel, no way. It is so good that you answered. I have the best news ever. She sounded hyped up, as if she were jumping around. I sat on the edge of the bed with heavy eyes. Kayla, it is incredibly late. I work tomorrow. Yes, I know, but you have to hear this right now. This is going to change everything for the family. I swear. She was speaking so fast I could barely follow her. I have a business idea. I have been thinking about it for weeks and I already have everything tied together. We are going to get rich, Rachel. Really rich. 34 years old, I already had a rule. When someone tells you we are going to get rich, you have to hit the brakes. Hold on. What are you talking about? Okay. You see that everything is super expensive, right? People complain about groceries, about products, about everything. Well, I found a way to fix that and make a ton of money along the way. I could hear footsteps. She was pacing back and forth, and I recognized the squeak of the floorboards because Kayla was not in her own place. She was in my condo, the one I had let her and her husband Brandon use for free for the past 3 years. Just until we get settled, they had told me at first. 3 years. I am going to put together a subscription service, she continued. People pay a monthly fee and get discounted products delivered right to their doors. I stayed quiet processing it. And here is the cool part. I am going to partner with local businesses. No huge chains. Just neighborhood people. Everyone wins. I have worked in business development at a large consulting firm for 10 years. I have seen similar ideas 1,000 times. On paper they sound great. In real life they fall apart because of logistics, inventory, complaints, returns, and everything else. Kayla, that sounds like those subscription boxes that already exist. There are a ton of them. The market is saturated. But mine is going to be different. I am only going to include local businesses. People want to support local. I could already see the problems. Coordinating with many small businesses, dealing with stock issues from one day to the next, suppliers not showing up, angry customers, and all of that with deliveries. Okay, I told her. And why are you calling me at this hour? There was a pause. She took a breath as if she were getting ready to throw a punch. Because I need a little bit of capital to start. There it was. How much is a little bit? $90,000. My throat closed up. Literally, what did you just say? $90,000. Look, I know it sounds steep, but think of it as an investment. When it takes off, I will return your money and even make a profit. I stood up and started pacing around my room, trying not to yell. Kayla, why would I give you $90,000 for a business that, with any luck, has a 5% chance of working out? Because you have money, she blurted out, her anger already showing. You have your home, you have that condo, and you do well at your job. To you, that is nothing. Yes, I was doing well, but not by magic. I had worked incredibly hard for years, saving, investing, and buying real estate carefully. And even so, $90,000 was not nothing, not to me, and even less so for an idea slapped together at nearly 11 o'clock at night. Kayla, listen to me. I have been looking at business plans for over 10 years. What you are saying is not grounded in reality. You are going to run out of money in months. Silence. In the background, Brandon could be heard asking something like, "What happened?" And she replied quietly, "You know what, Rachel? I thought you were going to support me. I thought you would care about your family getting ahead. I am supporting you by telling you the truth. If you want experience, start small, run tests, put in your own money, or ask mom and dad if they want to chip in if they trust it so much." Sure. I see whose side you are on. And she hung up without saying goodbye. I stayed looking at my cell phone for a while. Kayla had always been dramatic, but this felt like too much. I went to bed thinking that the next day she would calm down, that in a day or two she would call me to play the offended victim and then patch things up. I even imagined that over time she would thank me for not letting her throw herself into the void. The next morning, I was having my coffee and checking emails when a call came in. It was my mom. That threw me off because she almost never calls early. Hello, Mom. Rachel, I need to talk to you right now. She had that tone she used with me when I was a little girl and had done something wrong. My stomach tightened. What is wrong? What is wrong is that your sister called me last night crying. She says you denied her help. A little thing she asked you for. I almost spit out my coffee. A little thing. Mom, she asked me for $90,000. That is not that much to you. I froze. Mom, do you know what that is? Do you know what she wants to do? She wants to start a business. She wants to better herself. She wants to support her family. She wants to make subscription boxes in a saturated market with no plan, no numbers. Nothing. That has a very high probability of failing. I would be throwing my money away. So what if she fails? She told me. And right there her voice got sharp. At least she learns. Is it not worth supporting your sister so she can gain experience? I had to sit down. Are you telling me to give her $90,000 so she can learn by failing? I am telling you to stop being selfish with your money. Family supports each other. Heat rushed to my face. Selfish? Mom, I work incredibly long weeks. That money does not fall from the sky for me. There was a heavy pause. Your problem, Rachel, is that you do not understand what family is. Family does not make excuses. Family helps. I stayed speechless for a few seconds because I had helped that family for years. I had let Kayla and Brandon use my entire condo for free for 3 years. I had paid for things, covered emergencies, and been the one who solved problems when someone got stuck. Mom, I have been supporting them for years. If Kayla wants to start a business, she has to do it right. Let her do research, figure out costs, make projections. It is not just give me the money and trust me. I cannot believe how cold you have become, she said, her voice now freezing. Your father and I raised you better. You raised me to be responsible. That is what I am doing. We will see. Someday you will understand what you lose by turning your back on your family. And she hung up. I stared at the screen as if everything had been flipped upside down, and now I was the villain. Days passed, then weeks, and Kayla did not reach out to me, not a single call or message. That was very unusual because she used to call me at least twice a week, even if it was just to ask for favors. Weeks turned into months, and to be honest, at first it weighed on me, but it also felt peaceful. No drama, no late-night calls, no emergencies. When December started, naive as I was, I thought that by Christmas they would be over it. In my family, fights never lasted until the holidays, so I started buying gifts like always. A nice sweater for my mom, a good bottle for my dad, some things for the kitchen that Kayla had said she wanted, and something for Brandon. 3 months had passed since the phone call about the money. I truly believed it was going to be a let us forget everything moment. A week before Christmas Eve, my mom called. Rachel, I have to tell you something about the dinner. Oh, right. Tell me what time you want me to arrive. I already have everything ready. I even wrapped the gifts. Her silence warned me of the blow. The thing is, you are not coming this year. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. What do you mean I am not coming? Kayla does not want you there. She says she cannot even look at you after what you did to her. She asked us not to invite you, and your father and I agreed. I lost my breath. Are you being serious? You are going to choose Kayla over me. We are not choosing anyone. You chose to hurt your sister when she needed support. She asked me for $90,000, Mom. And you have the means to do it. And so that is the requirement to be family? Paying. My mom's voice hardened. This is a consequence of your decisions. When it is your turn to spend Christmas Eve alone, we will see if then you understand what family is. And she hung up. I sat there with my cell phone in my hand, looking at my living room. The gifts were already there. The tree was up. Everything was ready, and suddenly nothing. I called Kayla. It went straight to voicemail. I called her again. Same thing. I left her 3 messages. She did not answer. So I got in my car and drove to the condo where she and Brandon lived. It was night, and although the traffic was lighter, it still took me a while. I arrived and knocked. Kayla, it is me. We need to talk. From the other side, her cold voice came through. Go away, Rachel. I do not want to see you. Kayla, please open the door. Let us fix this. There is nothing to fix. You already decided when you denied me help. I no longer consider you my sister. It made me angry and sad all at once. You are exaggerating. Open the door. No. Go away and do not come back. I stayed there for about 10 minutes knocking, taking deep breaths, trying not to yell. She did not open the door even a crack. I went back home with my head spinning. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat in the living room. The wrapped gifts were looking at me as if they were mocking me. A sweater for a mom who had just kicked me out of dinner. Kitchen items for a sister who would not even open the door for me. And right there with the wine I started adding everything up. 3 years living for free in my condo. That condo in that area easily rents for $1,200 a month. And I, just to avoid fights, had kept paying for maintenance, utilities, property taxes, and repairs. Kayla and Brandon just lived there. $1,200 times 36 months came to nearly $43,000 just in gifted rent alone, not counting the wear and tear. Then there was everything else. Kayla's wedding. We are a little short, help us out. I ended up paying a good chunk of it. The family trip 2 years ago, where they insisted we needed to bond as a family, and I pitched in a lot. My mom's medical treatment when she had complications. My dad's car when it broke down. I had been the financial cushion for the family, and now they were calling me selfish because I did not want to throw another $90,000 at a poorly planned idea. In that moment, my sadness vanished. What lit up inside me instead was anger. The next day I went to return all the gifts. All of them. I felt bad for the store employees because I showed up with bags and bags, but I did not care. They refunded me about $750 in total, and I thought I would rather keep that money than give it to people who did not even want to see me. And then I started planning. It was not a one-day impulse. It was a calm, cold decision. If they were going to exclude me as if I were nothing, then I was also going to set real boundaries. On the afternoon of the 23rd, with my head much calmer, I looked up a nearby storage unit and reserved it online. It was one of those facilities that give you code access 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I paid for the first month. I also spoke with a locksmith and scheduled him tentatively for the 25th in the middle of the afternoon. I warned him that because it was a holiday, he would charge an emergency fee. He said of course it would be more expensive. I told him that was fine. The 24th arrived. I stayed home alone, trying not to let the silence get to me. I ordered food through an app, put on a movie, and tried to distract myself. It felt strange not to be rushing around, not cooking something to bring over, not calculating traffic. But it was also peaceful. No one yelling at me, no one making demands, no one testing me. On the 25th I woke up late, made coffee, and sat for a while staring into space, as if the day just could not quite get started. At about 10:30 I half-heartedly opened social media, and there were photos from my parents' house in the suburbs. The table was full of leftovers, the family was smiling, and Kayla looked happy as if nothing had happened. And on top of that, she made a post that burned me up inside. Christmas with the ones who actually matter. Sometimes you have to remove toxic people to live in peace. Toxic? Me? That was the final push. If she was going to talk about me like that, then I was no longer going to keep funding her comfort. I grabbed my keys and left. Since it was the 25th and the city was quieter in the morning, the drive felt faster than normal. I got to the building, and the security guard looked at me with a "you again" expression but did not stop me. After all, I was the owner. The condo was mine, so I had a key. I walked in, and that is when the reality of how they kept the place hit me. Dishes in the sink, clothes thrown on the couch, a somewhat stuffy smell, the rug covered in crumbs, as if cleaning was optional. I went into the bedroom and started packing without any screaming or drama, just with quiet determination. Clothes, shoes, books, papers, electronics, bathroom items, everything went into boxes and suitcases. It took me about 2 hours because they had a lot of stuff and I was being careful not to break anything. I did not want them coming back later claiming that I had damaged their belongings. When I finished, I took everything down to the car and made multiple trips. It took 3 trips in total. The storage unit was relatively close, and with the code access, I did not have to depend on anyone in the office. I left everything arranged neatly, locked it with a padlock, and took a breath. On the way back, I called the locksmith. "You can come now." He arrived about an hour later. He brought his tools and had the look of a man who really did not want to be working on a holiday. He reminded me of the emergency fee. He charged me about $300 for the main lock, deadbolt, and handle. I paid him. We went upstairs. He changed everything in less than an hour. He handed me the new keys. All set, miss. It is done. I thanked him and he left, wishing me a Merry Christmas. I stood for a few minutes in the living room of the now empty condo, silent and finally breathable. I locked the door and went home. That afternoon I made myself something delicious. I opened a bottle I had been saving. I put on some soft music. I called 2 friends to wish them a Merry Christmas. I video called a college friend who lives in Seattle. We chatted for a while. I laughed, and at one point something really strange hit me. I was having a better time than I had in other Christmases. Without tension. Without having to watch what I said to avoid starting a fight. Without giving too much and receiving so little in return. It was almost nightfall when my cell phone started ringing. First Kayla, then Brandon, then my mom, then my dad. One after another, non-stop. I already knew what had happened. They had come back from eating leftovers, or Kayla wanted to pick something up, or it was simply time for them to return to the condo. And they had run into a locked door, a new lock, and their now useless keys. I watched the screen light up over and over again. I put it on silent. Figure it out, I thought. Just like I have always figured everything out for everyone. The calls continued for a good while. The voicemail started out cautious, then became urgent, and then turned angry. Later that evening my doorbell rang. I peeked out the window. There were the 4 of them standing at my front door, as if they had come to collect a debt. My mom was clutching her purse with both hands. My dad had his arms crossed. Kayla was red with anger. Brandon looked like he did not even know what was going on. I took a deep breath and opened the door. They did not even wait for an invitation. They walked right in as if they still had the right to do so. Kayla was the first to explode. What is wrong with you? What did you do? Did you change the locks? I closed the door calmly. Yes. You cannot kick us out like this. We have been there for 3 years. Yes, I can. I told her without raising my voice. The condo is mine. My mom approached with teary eyes. Rachel, honey, I think there was a misunderstanding. We did not want to hurt you with the dinner thing. We just wanted Kayla to calm down. I looked at her in disbelief. Misunderstanding? Mom, you told me that spending Christmas Eve alone would be good for me, so I could understand what family is. My dad finally spoke, but he looked uncomfortable. Look, maybe we crossed a line. But you cannot leave your sister on the street. Where are they going to live? That is no longer my problem, I replied. You all made it very clear that I am not family. So why would there be people living in my condo for free? Kayla opened her mouth as if I had slapped her. People? You are crazy. We are your family. No, I told her. Family does not kick someone out of dinner over money. Family does not label someone as toxic for being responsible. Family does not refuse to talk. Brandon raised his hand as if asking for a turn to speak, with a quiet voice. Rachel, we have nowhere to go today. Can we not work something out? Maybe a week? I do not know. I looked at him and felt a mix of pity and anger, because he had also enjoyed the comfort and had stayed quiet when Kayla treated me like an enemy. You should have thought about that before punishing me. Before letting this go this far, I said. Kayla started yelling again. It is not a punishment. My business is not going to fail. A short laugh escaped me. Kayla, you have never run a business. You have no plan, you have no numbers, you have no projections, you have no research, and you wanted me to hand you $90,000 just because you felt like it. My mom tried to intervene. It is just that your sister wanted to get ahead. And what have I done all these years? I said, and this time my voice trembled, but from anger. I let you use the condo for 3 years. Do you know how much that is? Nearly $43,000 in rent without counting maintenance. I paid for wedding expenses, I paid for family trips, I paid for medical bills. I paid for repairs. I never charged you. I never kept a tally. I did it because I thought that is how you help family. My dad lowered his gaze for a second. My mom wiped her face with a napkin she pulled out from somewhere. We did not know you were keeping score like that. I was not keeping score, I answered. It clicked for me when you called me selfish, when you left me out of Christmas Eve, when my sister called me toxic on social media. Kayla stayed quiet for a second. Then she lifted her chin. Well, yeah, because you abandoned us. You did not want to support us. Kayla, I told her slowly, do you realize what you do? You punish people, you close doors, you ask for absurd amounts, and then you play the victim when someone sets a boundary. That exact behavior is going to sink you in any business. My dad tried to fix things in his practical way. Let us see. We will pay you rent starting in January for whatever needs to be paid. Just give us a chance. 1 week to move and find a place. My mom quickly backed him up. Yes, honey, I swear. Let them move out, but in an orderly way, not like this. I listened to them and right then I understood something. The proposal was not really for me. It was because the problem had already blown up in their faces. I shook my head. No. You had to think about that beforehand, before treating me like an ATM, and then expecting me to endure the humiliation. Brandon swallowed hard. And our things? He asked with almost no strength left. I went to my desk, took a piece of paper, and wrote down the address of the storage unit and the unit number. Everything is there. The first month is already paid. After that, you guys figure it out. Kayla burst into tears but out of rage. You have no heart. We do not have money for rent. Then work. I told her without sugarcoating it. Like adults. Enough of living off of others. My dad took a step forward. This has gone too far, Rachel. You are being cruel. I looked right at him. Cruel? I am the one who has held this family together when things got difficult. I am the one who was left out of dinner for not handing over $90,000. I am the one who took insults and still paid for a storage unit so their things would not get lost. If that is cruelty, then I do not know what is. An uncomfortable silence fell over the room. My mom spoke quietly. Can we sit down, talk about it, and see how we can fix it? I shook my head. No, there is nothing to fix. You made your decision when you agreed to exclude me from the dinner, when you hung up the phone on me, when you treated me as if my hard work and my money belonged to you. Kayla looked at me with hatred. You are selfish. And you are abusive, I replied without yelling, but without hesitation either. And I am not going to continue with this anymore. I took a deep breath and let out what I had been holding on to since that phone call with my mom. From here on out, I want zero contact. No calls, no messages, no surprise visits, and zero financial support. It is over. You take charge of your own lives. My mom began to beg. Rachel, please forgive us. We made a mistake. Yes, I told her. You made a mistake. I went to the door and opened it. Now leave and do not come back. They stood there for a second, as if they could not believe I was actually making them leave. My dad took my mom by the arm and gently pulled her toward the exit. Brandon walked behind them, defeated, looking at the floor. Kayla stopped in front of me. I hate you, she whispered. I looked at her without blinking. I do not care anymore. They left. I locked the door and leaned against it, feeling drained but also relieved. Over the following weeks, they tried to reach me in every way possible. Calls, messages, emails. My mom tried guilt. My dad tried reasoning. Kayla alternated between asking for forgiveness and threatening that I would regret it. Brandon just complained about how expensive rent was. I did not answer a single one. Eventually, they got tired. Through a relative, I found out that Kayla and Brandon ended up renting a small place on the other side of the city, and they were struggling to pay the bills. My mom and dad went around telling anyone who would listen that I was mean and cold, but curiously, they never mentioned the part about leaving me out of Christmas Eve dinner for not lending them $90,000. I, for my part, fixed up my condo. I did a deep cleaning, painted the walls, and made a small repair in the bathroom. I put it up for rent with a proper contract and a security deposit, everything formal. A young, responsible couple moved in, the kind who pay on time and take good care of the place. And my life calmed down. I miss my family sometimes. There are days when it hits me, especially when I hear Christmas carols playing in the stores, but then I remember my mom's words. When it is your turn to spend Christmas Eve alone, you will understand what family is. And honestly, I did understand. I understood that for them, family meant putting up with things, paying, keeping your mouth shut, and always giving in. And I also understood something else. When you finally say no, they get angry because their comfort comes to an end. I do not know if we will reconcile someday. Maybe yes, maybe no. What I do know is that Christmas, the one they tried to use to humiliate me, ended up being the first one in years where I did something for myself. And they finally had to live with the consequences of their own decisions. Comment. Hey everyone, this story really touched something deep inside me. I've learned that setting healthy boundaries is one of the greatest acts of self-respect. We can still love our family while refusing to let them cross lines that hurt us. Being kind to others is beautiful, but we must also be kind to ourselves. Sometimes, choosing peace means making difficult decisions that others may not understand at first. Taking responsibility for your own happiness is a powerful step toward healing. I hope you take a moment to reflect on where you might need stronger boundaries in your life. Protecting your energy and well-being isn't selfish. It's necessary. True healing often begins when we finally stop accepting what drains us. You deserve calm, respect, and relationships that lift you up. And I believe you have the strength to create that. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.